actually trace the information in the Bible back to Jesus's time.
You know that the universities are skeptical in terms of their approach toward Jesus, the Bible, and God. So how can you protect, how can the students defend themselves? What's the evidence? And we're talking about how this information came down. How do we know we have accurate information about Jesus himself? Okay? You can't just open up the Bible and say, I got a verse. But you can open up the Bible and say, I've got information from people that would be solid evidence to anyone looking at ancient history that we can see a line of progression that goes right back to Jesus. And let me explain it from 1 Corinthians 15, and Daryl can explain it better. Paul writes this book in 55 AD. He had first preached this information in 50 AD. So if Jesus died about 30, we're talking 20 to 25 years later, we got this book on the newsstands in Corinth, all right? What did he say in 1 Corinthians 15? He says, for I delivered to you, to the Corinthians, as of first importance, of what I also received. When did he receive it? Daryl's going to tell us. That Christ died for our sins, according to the Scriptures, that he was buried, and that he was raised on the third day, according to the Scriptures. Then Jesus appeared to Cephas, then to the 12. After that, he appeared to more than 500 brethren at one time, most of whom remain until now, but some have fallen asleep. Then he appeared to James, then to all the apostles, and last of all, as to one untimely born, he appeared to me also. What is the significance? Joachim Jeremias, the Jewish scholar, looked at 1 Corinthians 15, these verses, and boy, he got a bird's eye view of what was going on. Tell us what is going on.
This is the core theology of the church that's being presented in traditional form. What we need to remember is that in the first century, we're in a primarily oral culture. The way things were passed on was by word of mouth. They didn't write books, generally speaking. Book writing was very, very rare. And so the way things were communicated was by passing them on through an oral tradition process. Jews were very good at this oral tradition process when they wanted to remember something. And so this little balanced line that you get, according to the Scriptures, he was buried and he was raised according to the Scriptures, it's made memorable on purpose because you're supposed to recall this core theology. What Paul received is the idea that he received this tradition. What he's teaching is what the other apostles are teaching. That's the point that he's making there. And the resurrection is a central doctrine he's getting ready to defend in that chapter. Another very important point that's coming through is the idea of this doctrinal summary and the idea that these appearances are things that happened in history. Jesus dying and Jesus being buried is on the same plane as Jesus being raised from the dead. It's all history. Now, one of the things students will hear in the classroom is that there are theological statements and there are historical statements, and you can't mix the two. So the idea that Jesus is raised from the dead is a theological statement. It's not a historical statement. And I think it's important to see that in this summary, the idea that Jesus died and was buried is put on the same plane as the idea that Jesus was raised from the dead. It's all being treated as a unit that belongs together, and the appearances are being presented as a unit, a fact of history, things that happen. We're 20 years away from the event, but the more important thing is the event that Paul is describing, the theology that's being taught, actually goes back to his conversion. His conversion goes right on top of the events that we're talking about. He was converted within a year or two of Jesus' crucifixion.
Yes,